All right, thanks for joining me again today. I wanted to talk about tutorials. One of the biggest fallacies that people fall into is, if they have a certain AutoCAD, I need to learn AutoCAD, need to learn Revit, need to learn Simulink, MATLAB, a programming language, what have you. It doesn't really matter what it is, SketchUp. This idea that, I'm going to watch a 15-minute video, a 30-minute video, an hour-long video, and that should be enough to get me going. Sometimes that really is enough to get you going, but here's, coming from somebody who enjoys learning about different types of CADs and programming languages just for the fun of it. One thing I realized is that going back to things I already know and looking at some of these half-hour, 1 hour, 2 hour long courses, you definitely know exactly where they're jumping. And you only know that because you spent some time learning. So if you've done enough programming, I was reading this post by a guy who went back to a very popular programming course, and he said, you know what? I know programming. I've been doing it for many years, and I just wanted to get a little more deeper knowledge, so I started from scratch. And he said, wow, this is being positioned for newcomers and beginners, but there's really a lot of information being thrown at you. It's like, drinking from a fire hose. But you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that because you're new to it, right? So therefore, a lot of people look at these 1 hour, half hour long courses, and they might just learn enough to do what that tutorial is teaching you. You just might learn enough to do whatever they're working on. But if you look at something that just teaches you basics, it might come off a little too slow. So you kind of have to pick your poison. I still think it's good to learn, by doing. It's the best way to learn. Learn by doing is great. Learn by doing even works with math. I mean, math is difficult. You see a professor doing mathematical equations and solving everything, but when you start doing it yourself, everything looks far more complicated. So therefore, my recommendation is that if you're going to work with tutorials, keep in mind that the person making a tutorial comes with a lot of knowledge, and what may seem as easy for them, very, very like a no-brainer for them, could be a matter of great frustration for a new person to learn. You could be looking for a shortcut they just applied, and they unknowingly applied it. I've seen that happen, where they just go and they have these toolbars. You can set up your toolbars for your best tools. It's like, imagine your garage. The most important tools are right in front of you, and you know how everything's laid out. But if a new person comes and starts looking for things, they won't know where to look, even if it's right in front of them. That's the funny part. So it's no different with programming languages. It's no different with CAD or design softwares or systems being set up or environments that are being set up for you to create whatever it is that you're creating. And really, you can actually take that from the physical world, like I said, looking for tools in a garage or a toolbox, to computerized environments for any use. And keep that in mind, that 1 hour course, it actually might take you 2 hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. It might take you 3 hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can actually get going and you know what some of the basic tools are, and you can start to fill in the gaps because you now know something, that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not to take a 1 hour course, take a 2 hour course and apply for jobs. Sure, you want to do that, go ahead, it's your choice. But again, some of the more simpler questions will throw you off because they're not necessarily covered in those 1 hour, 2 hour courses. Again, so my recommendation is, when you're doing tutorials, start off with something, understand it might take you longer. That half hour, 2 hour course is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's just enough to get you going. And from there on, you're gonna have to run into problems and do your own research as to how to resolve them using documentation, or you can just reach out to some of these people that made these videos and maybe they might be able to help you out. And that's what I think. Sometimes it's actually better to revisit. It's like reading a book. They say you have to read a book 3 times to actually get all the content from it. I don't know how true this is, but I've definitely read books 2 or 3 times, and definitely the second time I come across a paragraph or a scenario where I was like, oh, this is new to me. But I've probably read it the first time and it never really registered. Same thing with learning new things. You might have to do it a few times to get those things to click in. Anyway, thanks for joining me again, and I'll see you again in the next video.